Don't want to monitor her. Separated for over 3 months. I'm 37. She's 35. 2 girls, 7 and 12. 3 months back my wife and I had a mild conflict over text message, and she told me she wanted to separate after I had asked her if everything was okay, because she had been behaving strangely ever since we got back from our trip at Christmas. I was on my lunch break at work. I did not see it coming. She had been keeping things from me about how she felt, apparently for 2 to 3 years, and now she wanted to leave. Her reasoning is my behavior towards her over pent-up resentment over major failures and situations she has neglected over the years. This is nothing new, but I do have a problem I need to address. My attempt to get her moving and fix things were interpreted as verbal abuse, and I agree with her. I was not doing a very good job at addressing issues with her. When she told me this, I did not try to change her mind immediately. I simply said okay in text. I tried to ask her to slow down when I left work early to hash this out at home, but she was in a very determined mood. I did not stand in her way. I did ask her to consider what we're doing here and should we take a moment. But she had already come to this conclusion long before she said something. And just so nobody has to ask, yes, she was having an EA, and at one point before the OM moved, was a PA. It took me 3 days to figure it out. I knew something wasn't right, and I analyze and correlate data for a living. I was sure very quickly of an affair and waited for opportunity to confront and expose. The OM is one of my best friends who happens to live 700 miles away now. He is married. I caught her red-handed. She was best friends with his wife. After I confronted her about it and demanded her show me the private messaging app messages, I picked up her phone, dialed the contact. She said, "Oh, you're going to confront him now?" All sarcastic like. I responded, "No, I'm calling his wife." She hit the floor screaming and crying like I've never seen her do in the 19 years that I've known her. I squashed their affair. He backed off for multiple reasons. His wife now knows, and he is U.S. military, and he committed a wrong act by having an affair outside his marriage, and it's worse if the other person was married. She scolded me that I should have confronted only the OM and allowed them to end it. I felt bad and agreed, mistake of being weak. I now realize I was spot on with my tactics, and even my wife agrees in retrospect that I had the right. I should have kept up this take no BS mentality, but my crushed heart talked me into being weak-minded. Fast forward a month, I'm in counseling. I'm trying to woo her. It didn't work because I'm still being weak. A month later, we are in couples counseling, but she has no interest in getting things worked out. But she wants it to work, but her heart's not in it and the feelings for me aren't there. Another month later, I back way off for several weeks and begin moving my life forward for me, and we really start communicating better. But again, her feelings for me aren't enough to reconcile, and I accept that. She is in a financial predicament. Too much student debt, not enough income. Has started second job. Can't afford her own place. Lives at her parents', but won't come back just because of financial issues. I really admire that, and I don't want her back due to financial security needs. I want her to have financial security, but she's on her own for now and committed. It's a recipe for disaster if she came back in our current situation. We also won't do it for the kids. I am beginning to let go of resentment towards her over her leaving, the affair, her failings that had major impact on our family, and it feels really good. Backing off and moving forward helped that a lot. I'm getting my confidence back. I'm liking me. So, we talked for 4 hours the other night at an outdoor bar. Hours longer than we thought we'd be there. Talked about real issues surrounding the separation that we couldn't even address in counseling. Her guilt and her not giving into pressure from her guilt to come back. I respect that. It makes her more attractive too. I offer her divorce. Not because I want divorce, but because I don't want her to feel trapped. And I tell her my reasoning that I don't want her to feel trapped, that she can't have a divorce or I'll stonewall a divorce. I also tell her that I'm going to be okay without her. She has always required a nudge or a push to proceed with things. I expect her to accept. She declined. She's not ready for that. She was shocked and confused, started trying to comprehend what divorce would even look like. I assumed she was just waiting till she could do it herself. So, I was shocked too. So, I got a fence sitter on my hands. I can go either way at this point, with her or without her. She betrayed me, yes, but she's sticking to her guns, despite that coming back would improve her living and financial situation, not to mention alleviate her of guilt. That's not the sign of a weak woman looking for an easy life. I am not seeing anyone. I don't have that new connection nipping at my heels to divorce, but I'm considering filing. It's obvious she isn't planning to anytime soon, and financial it would be very hard for her to start that process. Meanwhile, I'm in limbo, but I'm not in a rush. But seriously, it's nonsense to sit around too much. We have no financial benefit by remaining married but separated. We also are not engaging in childish activities by using the children as weapons or trying to rub things in each other's faces. Very adult-like. All of the issues that pushed it towards separation have been dissolved. It's very confusing for me, and I'm guessing equally confusing for her. I don't know if I'm looking for advice or just somebody to hear my story, but I'm positive my future is bright with or without her. I should file. I need to get my head wrapped around that better. She needs nudging or a gentle firm push sometimes to get moving. but not a shove like I had used with her in the past in attempts to motivate. Originally, I had vowed to fight her on a divorce if she ever wanted one. I never told this to her, but I told it to myself. I was just being selfish. To clarify on her remorse, she is beginning to show signs of remorse. Very recently in the last few days. Prior to that, she wouldn't acknowledge that she shouldn't have been involved with the OM. She has now acknowledged that she should have ended the affair before deciding to leave. That she shouldn't have kept me in the dark about her feelings. And that she should not have left in a fit of rage, sending the family into a state of trauma. However, she is not in any state to return. I have them 3 days of the week, she has them 1 day of the week, and we rotate weekends. We both split the cost of activities and needs of the children, and we have unified household rules that apply in both households. The oldest has taken turns lashing out at both of us early on, probably just trying to express her dislike of us breaking up. She targeted her mother first and later me. She is doing much better now, is involved in new activities and is very cooperative. Also has been attending counseling and has expressed the desire to try to deal with her anger in counseling. I know, I should divorce her. It's so hard and I don't want to force an ultimatum in doing so. I'm so not ready to find another woman. A loyal woman sounds so wonderful. I'm just not ready to drag an innocent new woman into a relationship with me and my baggage. I have to go deal with my crap before I can do that with another person. I am going to start some projects like a lift kit for my Jeep and learning to tape and bed drywall. It appears in reality that I am the real fence sitter, as another poster commented. I'm a little embarrassed. I am going to sleep now, and I'm going to try to have a fresh head in the morning to address this topic in my head tomorrow. She didn't convince me to not call his wife. She thought I should have let them end it. I see how this was confusing. I called the wife of the OM, while my wife screamed in horror. I could hear the OM whimpering in the background as his wife started confronting him. I sent the OM's wife screenshots. Update. Asked her if she wanted a divorce. She said no, but she isn't coming back either. 1 week later I got her to admit she did want divorce. So, we sat down one evening, wrote it out, then we filed, and she responded at the same time. She wasn't served. Equal custody rights to the children, and they must remain in this county or a surrounding county. No child support, sharing expenses. Nobody's trying to take each other to the cleaners. Property was divided in a reasonable manner with no drama, and the only thing I am doing besides keeping my personal assets is paying off a small loan that I am co-signed with her on for my own protection and to lower her monthly living expenses. We even shared the filing, court costs. She asked for monthly spousal support, but I said no. Very civil. I feel very blessed, even though it's not what I wanted. It's really a shame that we can do this without derailing into anger and a crazy cycle but can't work out our marriage. Even the clerk said y'all get along really great and asked if we were sure before she stamped our papers filed. Even so, she wants to go. She isn't being a crazy person and she doesn't try to threaten me, so I felt the best thing to do was cut her loose as much as possible and ASAP. Better this than sitting around for months or even years until one of us finds someone and now is pressing the other for a divorce to satisfy their new someone. I have a 4-year plan to be completely debt-free, my first brand new car, replaced all my old major appliances and my kitchen with cash, lost 5 pounds, and I'm about to paint my home interior after some drywall work. All this since she left. I'm staying away from forming any type of relationship for a long time, probably a year or better. And that's really hard, because there is an early 30s woman where I work, has no kids, shares a lot of the core values that I do, and to top it off is very pretty, not to mention the fact that I can tell she likes me and always has a little bit. It would be tempting to try to scoop her up before somebody else does, but I'm not going to drag a woman like into being a rebound girl. If she's still around later on, maybe we can do lunch. Just the other day, I received my new Apple AirPods work, 6-week backorder. When they were delivered to my office, I had left a grocery store getting myself food to eat for lunch. When I got back to the office, a coworker had opened the package, paired the AirPods with his phone, and was talking to his wife with them as a sort of practical joke. I cooled off and separated myself from him for a short period of time, and when I returned, I let him know right away that it was not okay and he should have not done that. To be honest, I don't think he realized that that was such an intrusion on me. But at the same time, I let him know that it was not cool, and I did it in a manner that wasn't hostile or demeaning to him as a person. I just let him know boundaries. I never did this with my soon-to-be ex-wife. I really wish I had've. We are not friends. I told her as much. Like when she said, "I'll always be your best friend." My retort was, "I'm not your friend. Sorry, I'm your husband." However, I'm not going to provoke her till this crap is final. I'm seriously winning here. She is still in some type of fog. I am going to divorce her in the fog. The new girl, she's pretty desirable. I'll hit her up if it works out. She's wife material, no doubt, but I'm not going to disrespect her by pursuing her in any manner until I am fully available. That's how I want to treat wife material. In fact, I'm not going to date anyone, and that's not potential wife material. I should probably explore. Perhaps the relationship in the office is shallow. But when I say the office, I work with 35 people. Probably even more now. I haven't looked at the latest HR data. We are growing. lots of women, a hospital. This person in particular is special though. I mean, I know a good thing when I see it. Well, maybe I don't consider who I married before. However, the mother of my children is not a bad person. And it's not like I was the perfect husband. However, I know what I need to be looking for. A person that knows what commitment actually is. My wife is leaving me based on feelings. That crappy things about feelings or they change. I need somebody that is willing to commit to work past feelings when they change. And they will. Now I've got a new problem on my hands. Very nice woman I work with, same company, different locations, giving me signals that she's available. She knows my STBX and I spit. I'm not going to avoid her, but I'm not going after her either. I'm going to let things just simmer a bit. Don't think I'm in any condition to date. I'm still technically married after all. It is nice to know that I can still get attention from women, maybe more now than when I was much younger. That's what I'm really trying to say. It's not a problem at all. I'm feeling flattered. I'm also making new circles of friends. A friend of mine introduced me to a group of his friends who are definitely motorheads, and I love cars. Very many dudes that like working on cars and bikes more than long-term relationships. Nice because I don't want to have that pressure of impressing women, and I'm not going to hang out with a bunch of motorheads. I met a guy tonight who is the father of one of my daughter's best friends. He's coming out for burgers tomorrow. He's single and military, and I'd suspect would be a lot of fun to chill with. Got invited to a for Friday beers by some people who work in another location that is part of the company I work for. All in leadership roles but seem like fun. All of these sound like really good opportunities with a variety of different types of people. I really need to get out there more. We got stuck in a rut when she was in school, and that took up so much of our time and that we lost a lot of our friends. Most of them moved off. I'm pretty excited. I will make sure to gather a large stick. Next month I'm going to throw my 2 daughters and the 2 nieces from my STBX aside in my sport wagon and take a 2,000 miles road trip. But I do have a 98 Jeep Wrangler that's my toy. I also have a Ford tractor I use to maintain my property. But what I really need is mini dune buggy. Unfortunately, I had to spend my dune buggy money on new appliances and fixing up my home so it is more comfortable to be in. If I was going to get a 2-seater, it would be a factory 5-kit car. Had a really good time hanging out with another single dad and our girls tonight. Chilled out, cooked out, girls swam in the pool I got set up. We had a lot of fun. Pretty damn fun for a Thursday. Apparently my STBX has lost one of the 2 friends she has. Her family and friends found out she was cheating. I also found out that there is a rumor at the school she teaches at and where my kids go to school that I was an abusive, controlling husband and that I was having an affair. This really pisses me off because this is the school I attended my entire life. Small school out in the country. So, things blew up a little bit. Still on track to give her the divorce. I'm just trying to keep my life together and it's working. 2 weeks ahead of my bills. An actual savings accounts instead of living paycheck to paycheck like I had with the STBX, and I lost 8 pounds with no exercise. Me first. Oh, I set a lot of people straight, including her parents, sister and her 2 friends. Which is now one fiend, cause the other said she is done with her and was long before I contacted her. I'm not taking her back. I thought the grass was gray on the other side. Unfortunately for her, she kicked me into that other pasture and I realized the grass was dead on the side I just came from. I've never been more stable in my entire life. I have our children 20 days out of the month and she has them 10. I am ahead on my bills and I have actual money in my savings account for a change. I own my own home outright, and my family's lawyers say that she can't touch it. Not that she would burn that bridge and try. She won't. I have a 4.5-year plan to be completely debt-free. All of the major appliances in my home are less than 2 years old. My car is brand new. I have a pool. I have a Jeep Wrangler. I'm sitting in my yard right now watching the sprinklers go, drinking a beer and listening to the chirps of locusts in the trees. I've literally never been better, and it's because she's gone and by her choice. She isn't trying to take me to the cleaners. I won the lotto. I'm not ugly either. Not hot, but cute. Half a year, update. I survived my divorce. We went before the judge today to finalize a divorce that I didn't want. It was literally the hardest thing that I've ever done, to the point where I broke down in front of the court and could barely speak when reading my testimony under oath. An uncontested divorce in the state of Texas will take you less than 10 minutes once you get to the courtroom. Hardest thing I've done, but way too easy in my opinion. I would hope that anybody faced with divorce would find the courage to reconcile, no matter the circumstances. I do not believe it's worth it. Even my now ex-wife could not remain heartless and cold as she had been over the last 9 months as our divorce was finalized. She lost it and so did I. We both know it wasn't worth it, but it's done. But if your hands are tied, you can make it. I promise that you can. I am feeling very good about my outcome. It was the right thing. It's regrettable and I believe unnecessary, but only if the circumstances have been different. But I do wish reconciliation for anyone. I'm done with her. I'm doing everything I can to pull away. Deleting anything that I've posted online with the 2 of us, removing tags, blocking people. Any little thing that I can pull away I do. Tomorrow I'm taking an all-guys trip down to the coast and I am ghosting out of here. Spent the weekend at the coast with a bunch of my guy friends playing Cards Against Humanity, drinking, eating seafood, going to a football game, just doing general guy stuff. It was really fun. I'm interested in dating and I found out that I'm rather good at attracting women. Better now than when I was younger for sure. I've got the interest of a very pretty red-headed girl. Smart, witty, silly, interesting, and not very needy. Seems to be very independent. I spent a lot of time being a babysitter to my ex-wife, so the thought of somebody that can take care of their own business is very appealing. Also, it's amazing how many women my age is attracted to a guy they see as being a good dad. I'm not jumping into anything. I'm not desperate. But I see no reason to ignore someone I would like to get to know. So that's where I'm at. I'm going to stay away from the booty call scene. Almost a year later, I really need to keep dating on hold. Maybe casual dating would be okay, but it has to be kept to a bare minimum. My ex-wife was involved in an affair with one of my best friends when she left January 2017. Close to the time our divorce was finalized, I got wind that she and this guy continued on with their affair and then he divorced his wife. We were all friends at one time. Within a couple months of him divorcing his wife, they are publicly a couple now, even though he lives 10 hours away. He's been bringing the kids all the way down here every weekend when my ex-wife has our children, playing house for the weekend and then going home. I'm really worried about the effect that this is having on my children. I can tell a difference in their behavior and surprisingly they seem happier when they're at home with me and they have prior to their mother's new relationship and the things that come with it. The fact that Daddy's friend is all of a sudden dating mommy has to be raising questions inside children's heads. The kids are even using terms like stepsister about his children, which is ridiculous considering how fresh the relationship is. But I'm not going to cause a fuss. I just feel that right now would be a bad time for me to form a relationship, as their mother and her new boyfriend are working hard to push their relationship onto the children. My youngest daughter is complaining that she doesn't get a lot of time with her mother because most of the time when they are with her this guy and his kids are around, and their mother's attention is focused on her new boyfriend. The oldest is quieter about this, not necessarily seeking advice. I think I know what to do. I just kind of wanted to talk. Although if anybody has great tips for keeping dating to a minimum and extremely casual, I am open to hear that. I still have a life after all. I'm going to keep myself open to dating, but on some pretty strict terms. It would be silly to pass up on a good opportunity, and I'm sure I wouldn't. I think I have some really good ideas on how to address the step-sibling thing when it comes up. With my youngest will probably be like, well, you aren't stepsisters and you know that, but is that something you were playing along with? She is very much into make-believe. The oldest one is almost a teenager, so I'm just going to keep my ears open and see what's appropriate. My comment: I would also tell your children that those kids are not their stepsister, brother. Just clarify that they are your ex-friend's children. They are not related to them in any way. Show them love and be a rock for them. If you kids are old enough, you can explain why you and your ex got divorced. Mommy wanted to have ex-friend as a boyfriend, which isn't allowed when you are married. Don't know the age of your children, but make it age appropriate. I think you are doing the right thing with not introducing any women you are dating to the kids, especially if you are not sure about them. Story 2. The Honest One. Wife and I've been married for 17 years with 3 beautiful kids. She cheated with my ex-neighbor. For much I know he deserves a good beating, but I want to be an adult and maybe tell him a few things like he's a lowlife and other things. I know many of you will say don't do anything, but I got the 90% urge to tell him a few stuff to his face. Please give any idea before I go forward with this. After my wife confessed to me of this affair, she cut all contact with him for a year, but she also told me he texts her like every 3 months to know how she is. The other day he texts her and she told me, if texted her again, should I see him then? My wife and I are not just Christian church goers. We are a very strong relationship with different congregations as leaders. I've always been in charge of the music department and she always helped as counselor, Sunday school, seminaries, and up front in many activities. She's very well-educated woman, always made me wonder why she married a dropout of high school like me. Bottom line, we've always been under the spotlights in different churches for many years until those churches grow up enough to sustain themselves to the point we're not needed anymore. Then we move to the next church that needs help growing. Now going to the point. Wife and I've been married for 17 years, have 3 beautiful kids. I'm 47, she's 41. Last June 2017 she confirmed my gut feelings of her having an affair, lasted 3 years, which ended a year before her confession. Now my trouble is not about my relationship with her. She did the typical cheater wife's line saying it was my fault because we stopped sleeping together, we grew apart. That's something I am very solid I had nothing to do with her doing, it was her own choice and she will answer to the Lord one day for that. We're working in our marriage and connected again to work together helping a newborn church where I offered our help as we always done in the past. Then again, my concern is this, should I assume to put her on hold from all the activities that she can help in church? I mean, she said she ended that affair almost 2 years ago. But I was thinking we don't live under the Old Testament where you have to have certain time for purifications after you commit a sin before God. I know now we live under grace and all sin have been forgiven. My question is, how long should I wait for her to be ready to take over responsibilities at church? Of course, nobody knows about all of this we went through. But believing God knows it all, we want to be honest to Him and to His church serving together in Christian ministry. This is why I was asking to those who have some time in a church position, maybe any pastor or leader of church, any elder with experience in the Lord. Again, I will not ignore comments from anybody, even if you are not a believer in anything. After all, you're still human and also have an opinion to say anything. Just to clarify to everybody, the time she was having the affair, we weren't in the ministry. As soon as I realized we needed to work in our marriage, we stopped working at all for churches. And by the way, when I say working, we never got paid for what we were doing. Our only salary was the joy, at least mine, of seeing full blossoming established churches over and over. We never got a penny from what we were doing. God was enough for us, or at least for me. Many people don't know what that means. I never had it as a professional. It was always a mission regardless of what was happening behind my back. Nowadays it's so easy to break any rule of integrity anywhere that it makes it extremely hard to stay in the path. Nobody's perfect, no exceptions for me, and yes, I admit my apathy toward the working in my marriage. For many I am the stupidest man alive for just forgiving her. The night she confessed it to me, you know what I said to her. Neither do I condemn you, don't do it again. I have a job which support my family. My wife always had a part-time job. We always took care of our ministry after work hours and weekends. After seeing my marriage condition, we realized we were not being honest to God and the churches we were working with and decided to take some time off the church activities. The working out process was very stressful and rough. We felt our marriage wasn't going anywhere to the point we stopped going to any church at all. We were constantly mad at each other. Our only glue were the kids who always kept us together. Now 2 months ago, we started assisting this newborn church where the pastor recognized us and asked me to help. I started helping with the music and the results already are amazing. She told me that she couldn't stand the cheating and she asked God for forgiveness. Then she felt she has to come forward, come clean as she put it, and tell me about her cheating. I think she was very picky at the time of choosing a candidate. The OM is some guy, no believer, divorced, own his own house, living in a town next to ours. When they met, it was just for bonding or going out to eat. She had feelings for him. I found an old text to one of her friends that she was going to break with the OM and she was heartbroken to make that decision since she wanted to remain faithful to me. I don't know the guy. By what she told me, he is divorced and has his own house and live in our next town. She never wanted to reveal any personal info about him. She always answered every question I asked about the affair. And believe me, I asked for every detail, in what room they had it, places when they went out to eat, what did they order, what day they went. Believe I could make a movie out of it. I even know that he is circumcised, he drinks beers, he likes football. After we got married, we found a common desire to help other churches to grow. We were younger, strong, willing to help and sacrifice anything. We found many churches need a lot of help. That's how we started all the ministry. We each still had our jobs then and dedicated to those churches after work hours and in weekends. After our second child, I asked her to stay at home with kids, but we still helping the churches as we could. We still have a lot of marriage problems like any married couple, but we always stay afloat. Then we go the third child where we were struggling to the point of dedicating more time to the family issues, including my marriage. I probably round up the numbers about the timelines, but around 2012 I stopped all the ministry helps, which was taking a toll in my family, including my wife, of course. Then we both stayed off the ministry till last December. We visited this new church where the pastor asked us to step in for help. I already started helping with the music, but my wife and I always work together. That's why I was originally asking for opinions at the beginning of this post. I wasn't asking advice for my marriage. I was asking opinions and comments about how long I should wait to integrate her in helping this new church. Her overcrowded schedule with the kids' activities won't allow such affair for that long with another man living 3 hours drive to another state. That's why she picked a guy from the next town. Very convenient and discreet for her being with a man living close, divorced, living alone. The 2 first years we were serving in this new church, I started taking over the music department. All had to do with services, concerts, recitals, practices, and special events. It felt like a full-time job for me and my wife, and still had our regular jobs. I always been a warehouse or factory man, and she just got her master's in psychology by then and had a nice job. She was doing all the women conferences, mainly the speaker for youth women department, Sunday school. Throughout those 2 years we started to fight more and more. It started affecting the ministry. It became too obvious in front of the congregation, and I decided to stop all the ministry. My integrity came first. At some point we separated. We both were hurt, but she was devastated. After the separation I met someone, nothing planned, meaningless relationship. My wife found out easily, which it was even more devastating for her to the point of being hospitalized. While the separation, she also was seeing other guys but never had slept together, or so she said, but we were still in contact once in a while and stayed in my apartment sometimes and had slept together, of course, from where she got pregnant. After I found out she was pregnant, I assumed my role and brought her to live with me, and we stayed together since then. For all these years she never wanted to really talk about my affairs, and I always wanted to respect her way of dealing with it. No cheater takes responsibility for their cheating. They always blame the other spouse for what they did, even if it could be true. In her case, she blames me for not being loving enough, for being mean, for being distant, for being non-physical, for not giving her enough attention, for not this, for not that. Take your pick and make new ones too if you like. I did the same thing when I cheated when we were separated. I blamed her for being boring, for not giving me my space, for being too clingy, and other things I came up with that helped me justify my cheating. Which they all were true, her excuses or mine, but at the end nothing forced you to cheat on your spouse. It's always your own decision to betray your marriage, your parenthood, if you have kids, your home, your church, and everything else that is part of your life and you care for. We did repent to each other. We had an emotional moment. We cried, we forgave each other for all the hurt we caused, and started to make rules to help us to get better. I started to treat her like a queen, but she doesn't show much of the fruit. I honestly don't see much change from her. She tells me how happy she is by seeing in me a new man and how proud she is of me, but sometimes I wish I could say the same of her. I told her about this, but she says she needs time for a notable change, even though she says she's changed in the inside. Whatever that means. Update. Wife confessed about her affairs almost a year ago. When I asked her for the OM's name, she refused to give me any personal info of him, but she told me let's call him to refer to him. She gave me a name which I assume is his middle name, but I just post the initial. Now this is what bugs me. After she told me, I see his name everywhere. Posters, advertisements, movie characters with that name. More than once wife and I watch TV together and his name comes up suddenly on that program. She looks at me with a hilarious look since that the name she picked for the OM. Even at church there are like 3 members with that same name, and on top of that, yesterday the pastor introduced me a new fellow members, and guess what? His name is X. Am I losing it or what? My comment, rug sweeping and being a doormat. She is still in limerence with OM. The fact that she finds it hilarious is enough for me to get her out of my life. If it were me, why confess? Did she think you'd go along with it? Holy cow, I hope to hell you are not paying for any of this crap. Separate your finances and start the 180. She is not remorseful at all. Then, when the squeeze of real life hits her, maybe you can have the hilarious look on your face instead.